Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Double Your Production podcast. I'm Dr. John Meis here with my partner, Wendy Briggs. Hey, Wendy, how's it going?
It's going great, Dr. John.
Fantastic. We also have one of our amazing hygiene coaches, Bert Trish. Hey, Bert.
Hey, Dr. John. Hey, Wendy. Glad to be
And
here.
Bert,
Thanks for inviting me.
and we have some very special guests today. Bert, would you like to introduce them?
Yes, I am excited to introduce you guys to Dr. Vincent Mariano and his partner and wife, Dr. Lisa Emirzian. They work in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. They have 3 practices in that area, and I've had the privilege in the last year of working with them and their hygiene department and helping them grow their hygiene department. So we're going to hear their story today, which was really quite a journey for me, and I know for them as well. And I was thrilled to be able to help them grow in the way that they did. So we'll get right started. Dr. Vinny, as people call you, right? Lovingly call you. What brought you to TTI? How'd you find out about us? How'd you get in touch with us? And what brought you to our company?
So probably about 1.5 years, 2 years ago or so. Well, first I'm going to start by saying EMA Dental is a combination of multiple practices we've accumulated or put together over the years with 3 locations.
Originally started with my dad's practice way back when.
Yeah. So we've grown it over the years. So my daughter being a prosthodontist, also living out in the eastern part of the state, we were looking at a practice out there. And when I looked at the numbers of that practice, it was amazing that I saw a hygiene department that had grew very significantly over the past couple years. It was almost like, how did this happen? It was I found out that the Team Training Institute was involved in that practice. And I said,
we were impressed.
We were impressed. 6 months later, a few months later, we had a very nice conversation with you, Wendy. And I said, Wendy, I need a special person to come over here. And Bert was the one.
It was the best.
That did a wonderful job with us, connected with us. And it was great. And we had a great year discovering each other and growing the practice.
Awesome. Yeah. So you were originally looking to just bring that practice into the fold, and you saw the opportunity that existed in your existing practices. That's
Absolutely.
Exciting.
Mm-hmm. We did. Mm-hmm.
So when you first came in, Dr. Mariano, I know you were looking to improve the perio, right? So that was what you really started with. And then, so talk a little bit about what happened there. You went through the perio explosion. We usually do hygiene explosion first, but you did perio first. And then what happened from there? I came on the scene shortly thereafter.
Okay, so I think I want to start by saying that what is very interesting about our growth and our journey has been the greatest points of our growth have been when we brought outside people, consultants, into the program. We can only say so much
we
together.
We couldn't do what you did.
We couldn't do that. As much as I'm a hands-on kind of guy in managing the 50 people we have, you can't do that bringing someone from the outside. So the most growth we've ever had is from different consulting companies coming in at different phases. Periodontally, I saw, and I always believe that the engine of our practice is the periodontal part of the practice. That is the engine of our general practice and the specialty parts that grow around it. If we talk of a spoke wheel, that's the way we do it. And I've always said that hygiene is the key. That's where our relationships are built. Mm-hmm. I wanted to elevate the role of our hygienists, and I felt that the way to do that would clearly be to get the right people to come in to help do that, as well as providing extra services and the other things. But the elevation of our hygienists was one of the main things I wanted to do. When we did periodontal explosion, that was very clear that we saw that, I always tracked how much periodontal treatment was being done, and I always knew it needed to be about 30%. We had recently bought the Westfield, a different location, and that was only 6%. So I said, wow, that's a great opportunity for me to grow. And I also saw that our hygiene team, those who had the most experience and the most connections with the patients, always did certainly much better. They were able to connect and be able to elevate the level of hygiene care and periodontal care, where our younger people weren't able to do that. So what I think
He lacks the experience and verbal skills as well. So.
Yeah. So I think by going through this program, we've empowered many of our hygienists to learn, to be able to teach and to be able to be confident enough to propose additional treatments, whether they be periodontal or all the other
And I think
issues.
by learning all together, they understood that they had our full support through the process as well. Because sometimes
Yep.
the hygienist can be a little cautious about conversation unless she knows she's going to get the doctor's support. And I think by all of us training together, that fear was alleviated.
Yeah.
So.
And
Yeah.
I think so much the key here is that it's training as a group, and the
Definitely.
monthly calls, us being on the monthly calls and the full day programs we had were very, very instrumental in making us empowered as a team to do that.
Right.
So that, as you know, that walk-in of the doctor into the hygiene room, that has to be set up and has to work smoothly. And it's hard to do because you have young hygienists who don't know anything about that, and you have your more seasoned ones. So when they work together, when we talked to our hygiene team at our last hygiene meeting, what they said was that working together as a team, it allowed the younger hygienists to see the more seasoned ones and made them feel more empowered to do a little bit more. And we're still working on that, obviously. I still scratch my head many times when I walk in and I said, okay, what?
Talk to me.
Talk to me. But it is improving. So I think that's the huge advantage of working together as a team, the monthly calls, and certainly having the doctors involved in those monthly calls were very critical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Dr. Mariano was, it was very, very committed to being on every call. Dr. Lisa was on many of them. Many of their doctors were on. So it was a really great exchange, I thought. It aided the whole experience of the call for me,
For you.
with the team, because he was so involved in the conversation and 100% behind everything we were trying to implement.
Right.
It was
The doctor's support is huge.
Yes, y'all were extremely supportive. It was not always a smooth ride. There were lots of bumps along the way, right? And when you're implementing change at the level that we were implementing, we had some moments of difficulty, right? We really did. However, we continue to persist, and they continue to learn. And at the end, the result. Talk a little bit about the result you got, Dr. Mariano, because that was a pretty incredible increase in hygiene for a year.
I always remember as a young practice saying, I want to have $1 million hygiene department. And then we grew that, and for years we had been stuck. But when we first started, we were at a $2.5 million production number or collection number, and we went to $3.5 million in 1 year. Mm-hmm. Now, part of that was growing our current hygiene team, and the two offices that we were doing 30% perio. The adjunct procedures really helped us a lot, but the one location which was new, which was only at 6%, that has grown to 25 to 30% because of the integration. So it integrated all three locations very, very well. So a huge difference in 1 year. To go $1 million out of a $2.5 million was big.
Yeah, I know in the last call I said, well, I think it was because I wasn't going to take all the credit for it, because it was in part we grew the team and the number of hygienists. And Sarah was quick to say, oh, no, Bert, we've been around 1.5 years. It was mostly you. She said that on the call. It made me feel really good. And it's not me. It's them, right? It's them being willing to move and do it and embrace it. And it was not an easy journey, but we got there. And they're doing so much better. And I will say one of his most experienced hygienists, who's over 30 years, is one of his highest producing hygienists. So for hygienists out there who think, oh, I'm too old to be able to make those changes this late in my career, it's possible. Yeah. I was an older hygienist. Kim is an older hygienist, and she did it very well.
So
right?
a couple of thoughts for future clients. If you're going to make that investment, a significant investment, and make this relationship, I feel very strongly that the doctors you can't just say, okay, here's the money and do what you can do. that only goes so far. You need to have that continuity of the doctors involved in that care. And we do that, and we did that. And sometimes it's hard in a busy practice. You're managing, you're on the assembly line doing what we do, and then you're doing these after evening courses or programs. It's a lot. But I really think it proved our return on investment was very significant because we forced ourselves to push the extra time. And sometimes, as you know, those calls were me in the car, running back from office, coming home for dinner.
In the dark. He was in the dark. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so wise. Without it is a doctor hygiene connection piece, and if everyone doesn't go through the training, everybody doesn't have the same understanding, then the results never are as good as they could be. And the other thing is the follow up, and doctors holding hygienists accountable and hygienists holding doctors accountable. Having that discussion, having that permission, which happens during the training, is really critical in getting the best results.
I think that goal setting was huge, and actually sharing everyone's goals with each other as a group was very motivational. And I think what Bert did very well, that she would explain, and we all feel that it's not just about the money. The metrics are performance indicators, and that is how we judge how well we're doing. And I think Bert did a fabulous job with that, sharing the numbers and not making people feel intimidated by seeing, their number not being as great as someone else's. It was all about, a team and working together. So.
And the numbers were just showing the results, but it was developing that value for what we were doing, and making sure that each patient can choose their own value or their own level of care. And if they wanted to do these additional procedures, they could. So that value orientation, and that's, as we all know, that's a balance. Are we doing this just for the money, or are we doing this for the patient's health? And we're doing it for both. We want to create value for that patient-doctor relationship. And Kimberly said something very important to me. The seasoned hygienists, they were able to leverage their relationship with the patients to allow her to do more procedures. The younger hygienists don't have that advantage because they haven't developed that heavy duty patient relationship yet. But what I think it has done is by having the younger people intertwined with our seasoned hygienists, it allowed them to grow quicker. And it's still a progress. They're not there yet, but it's a process. And they are growing and they are developing and becoming more seasoned with their patients.
I think that's an interesting point, Dr. Vince. But also, I would comment on Max, who came in right before I came in November. He was brand new to your practice, and last month he did $54,000 of production in a hygiene chair, and he doesn't have any relationship with these patients at the moment. So
he's a superstar.
It can be done even when there isn't a relationship to leverage. Yes, do we have an advantage if we're leveraging a relationship? We do, but when you have the skill and you develop the skill for conversation and being able to educate at the level that he's doing, he is knocking it out the park, and he's surpassed every hygienist in your organization in the matter of 3 months, which has blown me away. I mean, I can't talk about him enough. And he's male. Yeah. He's a hygienist.
And
Wendy.
he had challenges with certain patients saying they didn't want to see a male hygienist, and he overcame many obstacles in that regard. But,
and he took over the practice of one of your seasoned hygienists, right? He took over that practice where those patients weren't saying yes to her, and they're saying yes to him. So I find that very interesting that he's been able to jump that hurdle, and he was quite a find. I wish we could duplicate him and put him in a bottle because we could sell him for a lot of really
Did you say a $54,000 month?
In hygiene, yes.
In hygiene.
He did like 60-something root protections, 20 curodonts, a ton of sealants. He's got the highest fluoride percentage in their practice. I
think what we've learned from Max is that, when you sit in this room, this is the room where we do a lot of our interviews for new staffing. And the technical skills many times can be secondary. We want good skills, but that's secondary to that personal relationship of that connection. And that is what I've
Absolutely.
learned, that when I interview, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that patient skills, those soft skills that really make that patient. The patient doesn't know how the margin is or whether you got that piece of calculus. It's our job to make sure that's done. What they know is, do you care, and can you explain things simply and let them, make them or help them understand what you're trying to do and giving them options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I a couple things stood out to me. You know, you mentioned consistency earlier, and that's one of the things that we talked about on our very first phone call, if you recall, was the fact that really, even though our company name is the Team Training Institute and we're the hosts of this podcast, our goal is to establish systems that endure. And that's really what Max and Kim and some of the other providers have proven, is that when you have the systems that are built, they generate from the right place, right? Doing what's best for the patient, always putting the patient first, giving patients the opportunity to choose more care. And then we plug the right personalities into those systems, they deliver the results, you know. So that's what you've really done an amazing job over this first year of building those systems, establishing consistency. As you mentioned, you've had some of your seasoned providers able to mentor and help the development of your newer providers. All of those are really why you've gotten the results that you've gotten, which is really amazing to see.
Now, looking forward, the other thing that I think the program did, and Bert, as we've talked about our different staffing, I think Sarah, who joined us a year and a half ago in our Westfield location, we're looking for leadership now. We need to move forward with leaders within the hygiene department who can then help lead us moving forward. And I think Sarah meets that bill very, very well, because she's experienced, she's seasoned, and she wants that leadership. We have other seasoned hygienists who are at a part in their career and say, no, I don't want that extra stuff. So I think the next level in this leadership, and us finding that Sarah probably is the person that's going to take on the next step of leading and helping guide our program and department, is really very, very important.
Yeah, you need that accountability piece. One thing I did want to touch on, Dr. Mariano, was, you know, at the beginning when we talked, you were so obsessed with all of the write-offs with hygiene, and rightfully so, because it was big. Remember, every call, I listed what the write-offs were. But the interesting thing was that last call, they had done 317,000 as a group. And the write-offs actually went down because your higher level production is going up, which I thought was really, really interesting, because a lot of what we offer the patients are out-of-pocket expenses. There are no write-offs on sealants for adults and Curodont and fluoride and that kind of thing. So the write-offs become less of an issue as they do better with the preventive services that go up, right? And that was very clear in that last set of numbers that we looked at. The write-offs had dropped down to like 21%, where they were up at 24, 25% early in the game. So I thought that was a very interesting thing. And Dr. Mariano was, go ahead.
That's where we came in, and this end is because as you know, they were looking at production and getting their incentives off production, but the back office has to look at that, make sure that our patients are being told. And so we had a whole bunch of, we attempted and did our best with systems behind the scenes, so that make sure that those patients knew if it wasn't insurance covered, this is what it's going to be. So there are other issues that we all know behind the scenes have to be done, that the hygienists have to be aware of. But yes,
it's a team effort. Dentistry is a team sport. Wendy says that all the time. It takes everybody. That's why we're all sitting in the room together when we coach.
That's
because
so
they
right.
all need
When everyone's together.
Yep.
It couldn't have been done without having everyone together.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
I would also say too, you know, it's interesting as we've watched your journey, you know, I haven't sat in on any of the calls or anything, but we keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening with your growth. And you're very, very similar to so many of our long-term clients that we look back and we you know, dig into their story, and we love this part. But we always say, you know, our relationship is a journey, and the first journey is that first step. And the first step for us is always hygiene. But I love how you mentioned that you recognize that now that the first year's done, we really need to have a conversation about year two and where you're going, because like you said, you grow to a certain point, and then there are other systems that need focus. Like you mentioned, having leadership in hygiene, having a leadership structure as you continue to grow, because I know you're probably going to continue growing. And my guess is you're going to still be looking at other practices and following similar models that you've done.
Wendy, we're getting older.
No, you're not, because we're the same age, and you're not old. That's not old, right? We got a lot of years left in us. Okay.
But that's the beautiful thing is, the growth that you've had, this, $1 million increase in hygiene alone, that's just the beginning, right? And there's so many other things that get exciting when we look at, okay, what are the other opportunities that exist for your practice and your team right around the corner? And certainly I can tell you that so often doctors don't even think about what's next because they don't want to add on more work or more effort or more energy. But Dr. John, you always say, I don't know the exact phrase, I'll throw it to you in a second, but something like bigger is not always harder. And sometimes the bigger the organization gets, the easier it is for the owner doctor. How do you exactly say that? I know I didn't get that exactly right.
People assume that if they're going to grow in the way that they've grown to this point. And so they think it's going to be more work, more effort, more stress, more cost, all of that. But that's really not what happens when we build a leadership team around. And so it's bigger, should get easier if you do it right. And you two would be a great addition to our Spark group, which is our small group and DSO group. And it's working on that leadership, developing the leadership, among other things, developing the leadership of that next level of people, as well as business development, as well as operational efficiency and all the other things that group practices have a different struggle. You figured out how to do one well, but if we want to reach a practice that's self-managing and even better, self-growing, it's going to be the team around you that makes that happen. So that's what our Spark group does. You guys would be a great fit.
We've talked about that. We had a meeting with Heather.
That's the
Awesome.
point, right? Is that as you grow the systems in your practices, you get to a point where just like you said at the very beginning, Dr. Vince, that the biggest growth you've had is bringing someone from the outside in because you've gotten it to where you've gotten it all on your own. But there does come a point with practices for our listeners to recognize that, you can say things 3 or 4 different ways and they don't hear it the same as they heard it from Bert. Mm-hmm. And there's power in that, right? So we love that part about what we do. We love being able to partner with the best providers in the world. We absolutely love working with such amazing doctors such as yourselves and consider us fortunate to be a part of your story. So thank you so much for being willing to share that with us today.
Yeah.
Great. Well, amazing job, doctors. Congratulations on your excellent result, your wonderful practice, the patient care that you're providing. Absolutely amazing.
Great job to Bert as well. So yeah,
that's job, right, Bert.
Thanks, guys. I love what I do. You know that. Lots of passion, right?
Energy this girl has, that's for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of fun. Yep.
Well,
so that's it for this
episode. This was helpful, and we did enjoy the whole experience, and hope to move forward in some other capacity. But we didn't expect this, but we hope it is helpful in your own growth.
Thank you.
Well, absolutely. Thank you very much. So that's it for this episode of the W Production Podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.